My brother's wife turned the family against me when I tried to help their kids. Years later, the real story comes out and it's shocking. I, 32F, find myself in a complicated situation with my older brother Earl, 38M, and his wife Rosie, 36F. Our family dynamics have always been a bit strained, but recent events have pushed things to a breaking point. Some background: Earl and I grew up in a small town with our parents and older sister Meg, 40F. Earl was always the golden child, charismatic, popular, and seemingly perfect in our parents' eyes. I, on the other hand, was the quiet, bookish one who often felt overshadowed. Despite this, Earl and I were close as kids. He was protective of me and always stood up for me when I was bullied at school. Things changed when Earl met Rosie in college. Rosie came from a wealthy family and had a strong personality that seemed to overpower Earl's. Over time, we saw less and less of the easygoing, kind-hearted brother we knew. Rosie had a way of creating drama and tension in the family, often pitting people against each other. Our parents, eager to keep the peace and maintain a relationship with their only son, often gave in to Rosie's demands and expectations. When Earl and Rosie had their first child, Tara, 9F, I was thrilled to become an aunt. I loved spending time with Tara and later with Liam, 7M, when he came along. However, I began to notice some concerning patterns in Earl and Rosie's parenting. They often seemed distracted or disinterested in the kids' day-to-day needs. There were times when I'd visit and find the kids in dirty clothes or the house in disarray. I tried to help out when I could, but Rosie would often become defensive if I suggested anything that might imply criticism of her parenting. One incident that still haunts me happened when Liam was 3. He had been complaining of ear pain for weeks, but Rosie insisted it was just normal toddler fussiness. I urged them to take him to a doctor, but they brushed off my concerns. It wasn't until Liam developed a high fever and became lethargic that they finally took him to the ER. He ended up being hospitalized for a severe ear infection that had spread to his mastoid bone. The doctor said if they had waited much longer, it could have led to meningitis. I was furious with Earl and Rosie for their negligence, but they somehow managed to twist the narrative, painting themselves as victims of a freak illness that no one could have predicted. Fast forward to 2 months ago. Earl and Rosie asked if I could watch Tara and Liam for a weekend while they attended a wedding out of state. I agreed, happy to spend time with my niece and nephew. When the kids arrived, I immediately noticed something was off. Tara was constantly scratching her head, and both kids seemed subdued. As I was helping Tara get ready for her bath, I noticed her scalp looked red and irritated. When I asked her about it, she hesitantly admitted that she'd had an itchy head for weeks. Concerned, I took a closer look and was horrified to find her hair crawling with lice, not just eggs, but fully grown lice moving around. I immediately called Earl, trying to keep my voice calm as I asked why they hadn't mentioned this issue. His response left me speechless. "Oh yeah, that. We've been dealing with it for a while. Just use some olive oil, it'll be fine." I was stunned. Not only had they sent their kids to my house with an active lice infestation without warning me, but they weren't even treating it properly. I pressed Earl for more information, and he nonchalantly explained that they'd been using natural remedies like mayonnaise and vinegar for the past month because Rosie read online that over-the-counter treatments were toxic. Pushing aside my anger, I focused on helping the kids. I went out and bought proper lice treatment kits and spent the entire weekend treating both kids' hair, washing all their clothes and bedding, and thoroughly cleaning my house. The kids were embarrassed but grateful. Tara confided that she'd been too scared to tell her teacher about the lice because Rosie had told her it was a secret. When Earl and Rosie returned, I confronted them about their negligence. I explained how serious lice infestations can be if left untreated and how unfair it was to the kids to let them suffer for weeks. I also pointed out the risk they'd put me and others at by not disclosing the issue. Earl's response was dismissive. He accused me of overreacting and said, "Kids get lice. It's not a big deal." Rosie became defensive, suggesting that I was criticizing her parenting and that I had no right to interfere with their natural approach to childcare. The conversation quickly escalated into a heated argument. I brought up the ear infection incident, pointing out a pattern of neglect. Rosie turned it around, accusing me of never supporting them and always looking for ways to undermine their parenting. She even suggested that I was jealous because I didn't have kids of my own yet. That last comment stung particularly hard because Rosie knew my husband and I had been trying to conceive for the past year without success. It felt like a low blow, intentionally aimed at my deepest insecurity. Since that confrontation, our relationship has been incredibly strained. Earl and Rosie have been limiting my contact with Tara and Liam, which breaks my heart. The kids have always been a bright spot in my life, and I worry about their well-being when I can't see them. Last week, I heard from our parents that Earl and Rosie had been bad-mouthing me to the rest of the family. They've apparently been telling everyone that I'm an interfering busybody who doesn't respect their parenting choices and is trying to turn the kids against them. My parents seem torn, not wanting to take sides but also clearly swayed by Earl and Rosie's version of events. To make matters more complicated, I recently found out that I'm pregnant. After months of disappointment, my husband and I are overjoyed. But this family drama is casting a shadow over what should be a happy time. I'm worried about how this rift will affect my child's relationship with their cousins and the rest of the family. I've tried reaching out to Earl and Rosie to make amends, sending texts and leaving voicemails expressing my love for the kids and my desire to move past this disagreement. But they're giving me the cold shoulder. The few responses I've received have been curt and dismissive. Our older sister, Meg, has been my main support through all of this. She's experienced similar conflicts with Rosie in the past and believes that Rosie has a habit of creating drama and turning family members against each other. Meg's advised me to give Earl and Rosie space while ensuring the kids know I'm still here for them. My parents, on the other hand, are urging me to apologize just to keep the peace. They've always been conflict-averse and tend to give in to Earl and Rosie's demands to maintain access to their grandchildren. While I understand their position, it frustrates me that they're not acknowledging the real issues at hand. I'm torn between standing my ground on what I believe is right for the kids and potentially damaging my relationship with my brother and his family permanently. Part of me wants to report their neglect to Child Protective Services, but I'm afraid that would only escalate the situation and possibly cut me off from Tara and Liam completely. I love my niece and nephew, and I'm genuinely concerned about their well-being. But I'm starting to wonder if I've overstepped by being so involved in their lives. Should I apologize just to keep the peace, even though I don't think I did anything wrong? How can I maintain a relationship with Tara and Liam without compromising my principles or allowing Earl and Rosie's neglect to continue? Update 1. It's been about a month since my original post, and I want to thank everyone for their advice and support. Unfortunately, the situation has only become more complicated, and I'm struggling to navigate these turbulent family waters. After much consideration and discussion with my husband, I decided to reach out to Earl and Rosie one more time. I crafted a carefully worded email, explaining that while I never meant to overstep, my actions came from a place of genuine concern for Tara and Liam's health and well-being. I reminisced about some happy memories we've shared as a family and expressed my hope that we could find a way to move forward together. I also shared the news of my pregnancy, hoping it might soften the tension and remind them of the importance of family. Their response was not at all what I expected. A few days later, I received a long, angry email from Rosie. The contents of this email have left me reeling, and I'm still trying to process everything she said. Rosie accused me of trying to steal her children's affection and sabotage her marriage. She claimed that my constant interference and criticism were part of a long-term plan to drive a wedge between her and Earl. She even went so far as to accuse me of having inappropriate feelings for Earl, suggesting that my concern for the kids was just a cover for my desire to break up their marriage. I was absolutely shocked and deeply hurt by these accusations. The idea that I would have any romantic interest in my own brother is not only absurd but frankly disgusting. It feels like Rosie is projecting her own insecurities onto me and twisting my genuine concern for my niece and nephew into something sinister. What's more, Rosie revealed some information about her relationship with Earl that I hadn't known before. Apparently, they've been having serious marital problems for the past year. Rosie claimed that Earl had been emotionally distant, and that she suspected him of having an affair. She somehow convinced herself that I knew about this alleged affair and was covering for Earl, which is absolutely not true. The email went on to list various grievances Rosie has apparently been harboring against me for years. She brought up incidents from the past that I either don't remember or remember very differently. For example, she accused me of deliberately upstaging her at Tara's 5th birthday party by bringing an excessively elaborate gift. In reality, I had handmade a dollhouse for Tara because we were going through financial difficulties at the time and couldn't afford to buy a big present. Feeling overwhelmed and hoping for some support, I forwarded the email to our parents. Their reaction was not what I had hoped for. Instead of recognizing how irrational and hurtful Rosie's accusations were, they seemed to side with Earl and Rosie. My mother called me, saying I should have just let the lice issue go and that I was causing unnecessary drama in the family. She suggested that my pregnancy hormones were making me overly emotional and irrational, which felt like a dismissal of my very real concerns. Dad didn't say much during the call, but his silence felt like tacit agreement with Mom's perspective. This reaction from our parents brought back a lot of old feelings from childhood. Once again, it felt like Earl was being protected and excused, while my feelings and perspective were being dismissed. It was a painful reminder of the family dynamics that I thought we had moved past as adults. Feeling betrayed and unsupported by our parents, I turned to our older sister, Meg. I hadn't wanted to drag her into this mess initially, but I desperately needed someone to talk to who might understand the family dynamics at play. Meg was horrified by Rosie's email and our parents' reaction. As we talked, she revealed some information that put things in a new light. Apparently, this isn't the first time Rosie has made up stories and turned family members against each other. Meg reminded me of an incident from about 5 years ago involving Earl's best friend from college, Mike. Mike had expressed concern to Meg about Earl's drinking habits, which had apparently gotten worse after Liam was born. When Mike tried to talk to Earl about it, Rosie accused Mike of trying to break up their marriage. She claimed Mike was jealous of their relationship and was trying to drive Earl away from his family. The situation got so bad that Earl ended his 15-year friendship with Mike and cut him out of their lives completely. This pattern of behavior from Rosie, along with the revelation about their marital problems, has made me even more worried about Tara and Liam. If Rosie is willing to construct such elaborate lies about adult family members, what kind of emotional environment are the kids living in? Meg advised me to distance myself from the situation for my own mental health and the well-being of my unborn child. She suggested that we try to maintain some form of contact with Tara and Liam through other means, as she's also worried about their home situation. I'm feeling overwhelmed and conflicted. On one hand, I want to fight for my relationship with my niece and nephew and ensure they're being properly cared for. The thought of them living in a household filled with such tension and manipulation breaks my heart. On the other hand, I'm worried about the stress this is causing me during my pregnancy. My doctor has already noted that my blood pressure is higher than she'd like it to be. My husband is furious with how my family is treating me. He thinks we should cut ties with them completely, at least until after the baby is born. While I understand his perspective and appreciate his desire to protect me and our unborn child, the thought of completely stepping away from Tara and Liam doesn't sit right with me. I'm considering reaching out to Tara and Liam's school counselor to express my concerns about their home situation. I'm worried about the emotional impact of their parents' marital issues and Rosie's manipulative behavior. However, I'm also afraid that taking this step might backfire and make things even worse. I feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. Every potential course of action seems to have significant drawbacks. I'm trying to focus on my pregnancy and stay positive for the sake of my baby, but it's hard not to worry about Tara and Liam. Has anyone been in a similar situation? How do you protect your own mental health while also looking out for children you care about? I'm not sure what my next move should be, and any advice would be greatly appreciated. Update 2. It's been 2 months since my last update, and the situation has taken several unexpected turns. I'm now 5 months pregnant, and my doctor has been increasingly concerned about my stress levels. She's advised me to minimize stress as much as possible for the health of my baby, so I've been trying to distance myself from the family drama. It's been difficult, but I've been focusing on preparing for my baby's arrival and trying to find moments of joy in this pregnancy despite the ongoing tension. However, about 3 weeks ago, I received a phone call that shattered my attempts at maintaining distance. It was Tara, calling from a friend's house, her voice thick with tears. She was upset and scared, and what she told me made my heart race. Tara said that things at home had gotten much worse since we last spoke. She told me that her parents were fighting constantly, their arguments often turning into screaming matches that lasted late into the night. Tara mentioned overhearing Rosie accusing Earl of cheating multiple times, which echoed what Rosie had said in her email to me. What worried me most was when Tara said that Rosie had been drinking a lot lately. There had been several occasions where Rosie forgot to pick them up from school, leaving Tara and Liam waiting for hours before Earl finally came to get them. Tara also said that there was rarely food in the house, and she'd been making sandwiches for herself and Liam for dinner most nights. I tried to stay calm for Tara's sake, assuring her that she could always call me if she needed help. After comforting her as best I could, I hung up and immediately broke down in tears. The thought of Tara and Liam living in such a chaotic and potentially dangerous environment was overwhelming. I was torn about what to do with this information. I didn't want to betray Tara's trust, but I was genuinely worried about her and Liam's safety. After discussing it with my husband and Meg, I made the difficult decision to report my concerns to Child Protective Services anonymously. I felt it was the only way to ensure someone would check on the kids' well-being. A week after I made the report, all hell broke loose. Earl showed up at my door unannounced, absolutely livid. Apparently, CPS had conducted a home visit, and somehow Earl and Rosie had convinced themselves that I was behind it. Earl unleashed a torrent of anger, accusing me of trying to destroy his family. He said some truly hurtful things, bringing up childhood incidents and insecurities, twisting them to paint me as a jealous, interfering sister who had always been envious of his life. The confrontation left me shaken. The stress caused me to experience some worrying symptoms, and my husband insisted on taking me to the hospital. I ended up being admitted overnight for monitoring due to pregnancy complications related to stress. While I was in the hospital, I received an unexpected visitor, Rosie's sister, Laura, 34F. Laura and I had always been friendly but not particularly close, so I was surprised to see her. She had heard about what happened from their parents and came to apologize on behalf of her family. Laura revealed some information that shed new light on the situation. According to her, Rosie has been struggling with undiagnosed mental health issues for years, likely bipolar disorder. She's had episodes of depression and mania since her teens, but their parents always brushed it off as typical teenage mood swings. Rosie refused to seek help as an adult, insisting she could handle things on her own. Additionally, Laura confirmed that Rosie has been struggling with alcohol addiction for the past few years. The family has tried to intervene several times, but Rosie always refused help, and Earl would cover for her behavior. Laura also shared that after the CPS visit, Earl finally agreed to family therapy. He seemed to have had a wake-up call about the severity of their situation. While I'm relieved that they're finally getting help, I'm still hurt by how I've been treated and worried about Tara and Liam. A few days after I was discharged from the hospital, my parents called to apologize for not believing me earlier. They admitted that they were in denial about the severity of the situation with Earl and Rosie. Mom explained that it was hard for them to accept that their perfect son's life was falling apart, and it had been easier to believe that I was overreacting. While I appreciate their apology, I'm finding it hard to forgive them for dismissing my concerns and accusing me of overreacting. Years of feeling like the less favored child have left their mark, and this recent incident has brought those feelings to the surface again. I'm trying to focus on my health and my baby now, but I can't help but worry about Tara and Liam. Meg has been keeping in touch with them and says they're doing okay, but I miss them terribly. The thought of not being there for them during this difficult time is heartbreaking. I'm cautiously hopeful that the CPS visit and the start of family therapy might be the beginning of positive changes for Earl and Rosie. But I'm also realistic about the long road ahead of them, especially given Rosie's untreated mental health issues and struggle with alcohol. For now, I'm taking things one day at a time, trying to balance my concern for Tara and Liam with the need to protect my own health and that of my unborn child. It's a difficult line to walk, and I'm grateful for the support of my husband and Meg during this challenging time. Update 3. It's been 4 months since my last update, and I'm now a mother to a beautiful baby girl, Sophia. The joy of becoming a parent has been incredible, but it's also been tinged with sadness as I think about everything that's happened with our family over the past year. There have been some positive developments in the situation with Earl and Rosie. They've been attending family therapy consistently for the past 3 months. Rosie finally agreed to see a psychiatrist and has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. She's on medication now and, according to Laura, has been making progress. Earl has also joined a support group for partners of people with mental health issues. About a month ago, Earl reached out to me with what seemed like a heartfelt apology. He acknowledged that he had been in denial about Rosie's issues and their effect on the children. He also apologized for the awful things he said to me and for believing Rosie's accusations. While I appreciate his apology, I'm still cautious about fully reconciling. The hurt and betrayal run deep, and I know it will take time to rebuild trust. Tara and Liam have been allowed to visit me and meet their new cousin. It was an emotional reunion, and I was relieved to see that they seemed happier and healthier. Tara confided that things at home have improved, but she's still worried about her mom's mood swings. I'm trying to be a stable, supportive presence for them without overstepping the boundaries Earl and Rosie have set. My parents have been trying to make amends, helping out with Sophia and attempting to rebuild our relationship. I'm slowly working on forgiving them, but it's a process. Their dismissal of my concerns still stings, and I'm setting firm boundaries to protect myself and my new family. I've made it clear that while I'm open to moving forward, I won't tolerate any more dismissal of my feelings or concerns. Meg has been my rock throughout this entire ordeal. She's been a great aunt to Sophia and has helped mediate between me and the rest of the family. Her support has been invaluable during this challenging time, and it's brought us closer as sisters. As for me, I'm focusing on my new role as a mother and trying to heal from the stress of the past few months. I'm in therapy myself, working through my feelings about the family conflict and learning how to set healthy boundaries. Becoming a mother has given me a new perspective on the situation with Earl and Rosie. While I still don't agree with how they handled things, I have more empathy for the challenges of parenting. Things are far from perfect, but I'm cautiously optimistic about the future. Earl and Rosie seem committed to working on their issues, and I'm hopeful that we can slowly rebuild our relationships for the sake of all our children. However, I'm also prepared to keep my distance if necessary to protect my own little family. This experience has taught me the importance of trusting my instincts and standing up for what I believe is right, even when it's difficult. It's also shown me the complexity of family dynamics and the challenges of navigating long-standing patterns and expectations. For now, I'm taking things day by day, cherishing the moments with my daughter and trying to be the best mother I can be. I'm grateful for the support I've received from my husband, Meg, and many of you here on Reddit. Your advice and encouragement have been a source of strength during this challenging time.